We all noticed the strange change in The Rock's body during his recent appearances. His face looks exhausted, his muscles look smaller, and his body is no longer what it used to be. Reports started spreading everywhere, claiming that The Rock might be dealing with heart problems. But the truth, what really changed in The Rock's life, was not just his body, it was his reputation and the image he spent decades building. Over the last 10 years, the man who was once seen as a symbol of strength and inspiration has been losing followers. His name is now linked to arrogance, fake behavior, and sometimes even lies. The same people who once cheered for him are now asking, where did the real The Rock go? Today, we're telling the full story, how The Rock's persona collapsed and how he went from one of the most loved stars in the world to one of the most disliked figures in his field. And what is the real reason behind the sudden change in his body? Is it really because of illness, or is there a deeper and more dangerous truth? So, without any long introductions, let's go back a bit to the year 2016, the year when The Rock was at the absolute peak of his career. Every movie he appeared in was breaking box office records, and the media was calling him the people's champion. Then, suddenly, one single social media post changed everything. At the time, The Rock posted a fiery message about the Fast and Furious cast.
The words were harsh. He accused some actors of disrespect, jealousy, and even personal hostility. Everyone knew the message was aimed at one person, Vin Diesel, the lead star and producer. The post spread like wildfire. Fans were split. Some stood with The Rock. Others believed he crossed the line. Less than 24 hours later, he deleted the post, but the damage was already done. People saw a new side of him, a side of arrogance and ego that had been hidden behind his constant smile. From that moment, The Rock began trying to save his image. He started posting videos with his daughters, appearing as the loving, caring father. He talked constantly about family first. He shared emotional clips designed to win public sympathy again. And he did not stop there. He began public charity campaigns, donations to children, visiting them in person, filming everything, and sharing the emotional moments on his platforms. And it worked. People believed it. His image slowly polished itself again, and The Rock returned as a symbol of family happiness and success. For nearly 10 years, he lived inside that perfectly crafted image. He became more than just an actor. He became a brand.
Every movie he joined succeeded. Studios competed to sign him. His audience, from children to adults, saw him as a role model for humility and persistence. The examples are endless. Take Fast and Furious, for example, a franchise whose numbers were declining until The Rock joined and profits exploded. Or Jumanji, a movie where his presence alone was enough for parents to trust it and let their kids watch because the name The Rock felt safe. Simply put, he became the safe choice for family movies, comedies, and even action films. But the truth, all of that was just a perfectly crafted mask. In 2019, leaks started coming out of Hollywood. Reports confirmed that working with The Rock had become extremely difficult. He imposed strange conditions on directors, refused any scene that could make him look weak, and demanded changes to shots so he would always appear stronger than everyone else. Production companies slowly stopped seeing him as a star. They started seeing him as someone who wanted to control the project just to protect his image. The man who once built movies was now damaging them. And the contradictions did not stop there. Even in his personal life, odd inconsistencies started appearing.
The most famous one was when he posted an advertisement for In-N-Out Burger and claimed it was the first time he had ever tried it in his life. The audience believed him, but the internet never forgets. It turned out that exactly 1 year earlier, he had posted the same ad with the same words for the same restaurant. Then, a year later, he repeated the exact same story again. Same script, same delivery. He did not even change the restaurant name. That is when people stopped believing and started laughing. Every ad featuring Dwayne Johnson began to look like a fake commercial full of acting and lies. After years of a polished image and exaggerated success, The Rock's persona took the biggest hit of his career. Not a movie failure, not a simple feud, a hit that shook his reputation at its core. The story began when people noticed the massive change in his body, especially in his recent appearances. An unnaturally huge physique, and the strangest part? He was in his 50s. Questions started pouring in. Reports followed one after another, all pointing to the same possibility: hormone use and performance-enhancing drugs. The controversy exploded even more when Joe Rogan, host of the biggest podcast in America, mocked the situation publicly and said, "There's no way you get that body at 50 without help." It did not stop there. Even professional bodybuilding experts came forward, speaking openly, exposing the illusion The Rock's audience had been living under. While he was telling his fans that his physique was the result of clean eating, discipline, and training, the reality was very different. The man who built his brand on motivation and natural discipline was secretly using enhancers to grow bigger and bigger. And while people were still processing that shock, another event happened, one that completely shattered trust between The Rock and his audience: the People's Fund of Maui campaign. On the surface, it looked beautiful, a charity campaign to help rebuild Maui after the fires. But what most people did not know was that the campaign launched during a time when the entire world was drowning in economic crisis because of the pandemic. People could barely afford daily expenses. Businesses were shutting down. Charities were collapsing. Donations were almost frozen. And in that moment, two billionaires stepped forward, Oprah Winfrey and The Rock, asking ordinary people to donate instead of donating themselves. The internet exploded. How could two people with combined wealth worth billions ask struggling followers to help instead? Reports at the time stated that if Oprah and The Rock had donated alone, they could have rebuilt the island without losing even 1% of their wealth. That is when everything caught fire. Criticism was brutal. Comments turned into open mockery. The Rock was forced to release a public apology video announcing that he would personally donate a large amount to fix his mistake. But the damage was already done. The image of the humble, inspiring man was completely destroyed, and from here, the artistic downfall began. His movies started failing one after another. The first major hit was Black Adam, a movie that was supposed to be the project of his lifetime. The Rock was not just the lead actor, he was deeply involved in production and marketing. He pushed it as the beginning of a new DC universe. But when it was released, the shock was massive. The film failed both commercially and critically. It could not even cover its enormous budget. And the problem was not just the movie itself. It was the way The Rock tried to force his presence, pulling attention away from other characters and even the studio itself, as if everything had to revolve around him. But as always, anything you try to force is destined to fail. Yet, The Rock did not learn. He decided to return where it all began: professional wrestling, a comeback everyone expected to be legendary.
The crowd was excited. The media was predicting a historic moment. But what actually happened? A fan disaster. Instead of building a new story for himself, he jumped straight into an already established storyline, one the fans were deeply invested in: Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes. A story the entire wrestling world was waiting to see finished. At the exact moment when everyone expected Cody to fulfill his dream and win the championship, The Rock stepped in and took his place in the main event of WrestleMania. The audience exploded in anger. Thousands of comments. Fans felt he was stealing a historic moment from someone else just for the spotlight. For the first time, The Rock was forced to step back. He responded to the backlash and gave up the match, but the damage was done. The crowd now saw him as a selfish, arrogant figure who had lost touch with the people. After all these hits, he tried to rebuild his image. He returned to family movies with the film Red One. The goal was clear: to revive the old image, The Rock loved by children. But even here, failure followed him. The movie had a budget of $250 million, and despite massive marketing, it only made $186 million.
By Hollywood standards, a disaster. And here, everyone agreed on one thing: the legend was over. Dwayne Johnson, the man who was once a symbol of strength and success, is now seen as a figure of arrogance, deception, and slow personal decline. And if you think the failure of Red One was the end, let me tell you, this story was just getting started. The film's performance was catastrophic, even worse than Baywatch, which critics at the time called Dwayne Johnson's most miserable cinematic experience. But the difference this time was that The Rock could no longer hide behind his famous smile. The constant public pressure and relentless criticism turned him into an irritable, moody, and difficult person behind the scenes. It became clear that the polished image he had built his career on was collapsing from within. By 2024, a new bombshell exploded. A major report from one of his film crews revealed that The Rock was arriving at sets by more than 7 hours a day. The result? Losses exceeding $50 million for the production company. But it didn't stop there. Crew members spoke of constant tension, arguments, shouting, almost daily problems on set. And everyone agreed on one thing: The Rock has become arrogant, difficult, and only listens to himself. But the strangest detail in the report was the one that shocked the public more than anything else. The Rock refuses to use public bathrooms. According to sources, he would use empty water bottles and then hand them to production assistants to dispose of. Strange, humiliating even, especially from a man who always claimed humility and respect for everyone. It became clear how The Rock now sees himself as a superstar above everyone else, and how arrogance consumed the family-friendly persona the world loved. The polished image in his movies and ads was now just a big lie. No one believed it anymore. Today, The Rock is still not failing financially. He remains one of the richest and most powerful actors in Hollywood. But he failed in something far more important than money: his reputation. His name is now associated with lies. Every statement or story he tells is automatically questioned. And the worst part? His public image no longer has credibility. Yet, despite all this, The Rock did not give up. He decided to try again, but this time not with an action movie or comedy, a dramatic film called Smashing Machine. For the first time in his career, he will take on a serious role, far from the superhero image. Many see this as potentially The Rock's last major film, especially after all the news about his heart issues and the obvious changes in his physique in recent appearances. The muscles are no longer what they once were. The energy that once filled the screen has noticeably faded, as if time itself has finally begun to take on the Rock Man.